Waka waka! Welcome to Luis Cisneros YouTube channel, and today is about this character from the TV show Muppet Babies. Can you recognize it? That's right, it's Fozzie the bear. So if you'd like to join us for this tutorial on how to make this amazing character in Polymer Clay, tune in and get ready! So this is the material that we need for our character. We need a proportional chart, and this chart is just to compare Fozzie to the other characters, just the proportions, the size of the head, and the size of the rest of the body. This is available on my website. So we need an armature, and it's going to be a wire armature. And if you don't know how to make an armature, watch my video on how to create an armature, and you're gonna do it on base of our proportional chart, just thinking about it as a skeleton for our character. Then we're gonna need just basic colored clay, and you can buy any brand that you like. We need pliers to bend our wire, and we need a knife. Just with the knife, be really careful. If you need help, ask your parents. And some tools that they're gonna help us to sculpt, so we need them with rounded ends and a flat end too, and we need a needle and we need a brush. So we're gonna create our mayo color for Fozzie the bear, and we're gonna start creating orange by adding yellow and red and mixing it together. And then we're gonna add a little bit of blue, and this creates brown. If you want a reddish brown, you can add a little bit more red, or you can add a little more blue if you want a darker brown. And we separate the clay by body parts, and we compare it to the proportional chart just to make sure that we have the correct proportions. And we separate them by pairs except with the head, so we have 2 for the ear, we have 2 for the legs, and 2 for the arms and hands. Now we're going to put our armature in the position that our character is going to be. In this case, is crouching down and also leaning forward. We bend the wire where the knees are, and also we create the arc in the spine, so it gives that effect. I'm gonna start shaping our foot and legs, and for this we just grab the pieces of clay that we designated for those parts of the body and start shaping them. Just a reminder, they're up here, and also you have a left one and a right one. And make sure that they are exactly the same size. Then to create the crouching down, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give an angle to our legs so it looks that it's folding the knees, and we reshape these into our 2 pieces. When we finish, then we incorporate into the armature. Make sure the wire is right in the middle, and you can use your rounded tool just to push the wire inside into our clay. Then use the flat tool to reshape, and then we're gonna draw our lines for our toes. Fozzie has 3 toes, so we're gonna create that, and we use our fingers just to make them round. And then we reshape. We can use our needle tool just to give it that smooth look. Exactly the same with the other leg. We just incorporate it to the armature and make sure that we don't leave any wire exposed, so we can use some tools to be able to achieve that. After that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw the lines for our toes, and then we create those, and we can exaggerate it and curve them and reshape them with our fingers and the tools too. Then with our needle tool, we're gonna create the hair texture. Then with a small needle, we're gonna exaggerate those hairlines to make them look bigger and in different directions, so they look more natural. When you finish, you can bake. Then we're gonna create yellow pastel for our romper fuzzies, wherein we need a big sphere for our trunk and a small spheres for the legs and shoulders. Start with the top part of the romper, and this is gonna be in a silhouette of the shape of a pear, like the fruit, and it's gonna have big tummy and 2 holes where our legs are going to be. You shape it properly and you make sure that it fits into our armature and legs. We're gonna cut it in half. Just make sure that it's in the correct angle, since our character is leaning forward, so you cut it correctly where it's supposed to be. Then when you cut it, just make sure that you texturize inside. So we're gonna create a Velcro effect, so that way when we stick the 2 pieces together, they really hold each other. Then for the back part, we're gonna also texturize inside and exaggerate those gaps where our legs are going to get in. Just make sure that you fit it properly and you measure it properly. Then compare with the other parts so they match the same shape. And again, don't forget to texturize inside. Try to compare your back piece to your armature and legs to make sure that the gaps where the legs are going, they fit, and when you're sure, then incorporate into the armature. Use any tool just to try to push the armature inside, and then try to reshape and exaggerate the butt at the back and reshape that pear shape. And don't forget about the texture that you're gonna have inside, so make sure that is really the armature cover, and then exaggerate that texture that is gonna create the Velcro effect. Then make sure that you fit first the front part to try and just see if it fits the armature, and then reshape again. When you are sure that it fits completely, then you can incorporate it to the armature and to the back part. So when you're reshaping with your fingers, exaggerate the butt at the back and the tummy on the front, and remember the shape that it has is that it's leaning forward, so remember that position to shape it too. Then with the flat tool, you're going to incorporate the clay really to the legs, so it helps you to reach those parts that your fingers cannot. You're gonna draw a line at the butt to separate the cheeks, with your needle tool, and with your flat tool you exaggerate those. Create the shorts for the rubbers, and this is gonna be 2 triangles that they're gonna have rounded corners, especially on the top, and this is gonna be only for the back part of the leg. And when you're sure that you fit them and test them, and if they really cover the back part, then you incorporate it with your needle tool and smoothing the extra clay into the rubber. I do exactly the same with the other part, so I go from the needle inside of the back to all the way around at the back of the leg. And with the needle tool I make sure that I incorporate it pretty well and just smooth that extra clay that I have. Create the front part of the rubber short, I just create a cylinder with the same pastel yellow clay, and this effect helps me to exaggerate when it's crunching too. So I incorporate it with the needle tool and to the other part of the short. So in the front it's supposed to be larger since it's crunching, and the tummy it is covering that part. Then without a needle tool I'm gonna create the lines where the fabric gets together, and this creates another detail. And also I'm gonna create the ruffles on the pants just to create that effect that is crunching and is affecting also the fabric. At the back it has a pocket that it helps to uncover the diaper, and it's easy to change. So this romper has that pocket. We're gonna create a square with some yellow pastel clay. Make sure that it really fits and it's big enough to cover the butt. What do? We incorporate it, make it thin at the bottom. Help our needle, we incorporate it, make it smooth, and helping also to redraw the line that we had at the butt and separating those cheeks too. So brush just to smooth the clay and to not leave any fingerprints or even uneven surface. The entire romper, and also I draw two horizontal lines where our buttons are going to be. For buttons I created 2 white spheres and then I flat them with a rounded tool, and then with the needle tool I created 2 holes our buttons are going to have. That I marks for our bottoms, I use the same pastel yellow and I create a really thin, long cylinder, and then I cut it as larger as I need with the flat tool. It up with the needle and the thread, and I insert it into the first fold. I fold it with my finger across the bottom, and with the head of the needle I insert into the other fold. Then what I do, I try to put it in completely with the head of the needle, and with the big needle I exaggerate the two folds. And I'm gonna draw the other line and the other side that I forgot to do at the same time as the other line. And so I just start from the top all the way down to the bottom and even inside the shorts. Make sure that the two lines are the same and also they go inside the shorts. And try to not affect those ruffles that I will create on the shorts to create extra clay. Because you cut it out, then we can use the brush just to clean it up. And beside this line, we're gonna create the stitching marks. You go from the top all the way to the bottom. Don't forget to also do it in the other line. Just make sure that you only do it in one side of the line, so those stitching marks. Then we're gonna create the stitching marks also on the back too of that pocket. So we're gonna do one horizontal and on the sides the vertical ones. Also on the shorts, we're gonna create those stitching marks too, all the way around. All your stitching marks, then you can bake. I'm gonna create the bow that a fuzzy has, and for this we're gonna use white clay, and we're gonna create 2 triangles that are gonna cover the entire front of the romper. So it has a longer corner. The bow has really tiny pink dots, so we're gonna create a really tiny spheres with pink clay. Just make sure that all of them they're exactly the same size. Start placing our dots and just try to make sure that they're even and create a pattern. Just do not press so hard because if not you can start affecting the shape of the bow. So try to place them if you want, and then you can press down to flat them. And that's another technique that you can use, but if not then you can just press down. Then we create a large rectangle for the neck part. We do exactly the same. We're gonna fold in the middle our rectangle, so we use the needle to help us to do that, and then really carefully we try to fold it unevenly so it looks more natural. Then we place our 2 triangles with the longer corner on the top, and then we place our rectangle on the top where the neck is going to be. After that, what are we gonna do is we're gonna create the bow. So we create these round bows and that it falls in the middle, and we are gonna measure it just to make sure that it is going in the right proportion. Then after that we unfold it just to make sure the silhouette it is the one that we want. As you can see, it's a little bit deformed because it's heavy and it's going down, so we do that. It's really hard to describe what kind of shape it has, so I hope that you can see that I start with round bow and then I deform the corners that they go down. So this is the only way that I can explain it. Then after that I start putting the dots, creating the same pattern as the neck part and the leftover bow it has. We have to flip these parts because in the bow you can see the inside and the outside, and we put some dots in the inside part. the bow, I create a rectangle that it has on the sides and the angle, and then I add the dots, the same pattern as the bow. Then what I do is I fold one side of the bow and I reshape it with my fingers, and I fold the other side of the bow and I do the same, and I put it into the place. Try to give a little bit of movement when I place it, and I do the same with the other one. Then I curve the middle part so you can reach the inside and the outside of the bow. I place it in the middle with the needle tool. I give it also the fold right in the middle, and I clean with the brush. I try to reach with the needle inside, and then again I clean with the brush. With the needle tool also I create the marks that it goes on the side of the bows. After baking our figurine, then I'm gonna just straighten the wire for the arms so I can put them in the position that I want. I use the pieces of clay that I will leave specifically for the hands and arms, and I shape the arm as a large cylinder folder with the elbow it goes, and I incorporate it into the armature. Just be really careful to not contaminate with brown color our figurine. Just make sure also to use a tool to help you to reach those parts that your fingers cannot grab, and also to not leave any wire exposed. Then we're gonna start shaping our hand. So I make sure that I'm shaping the correct hand, and you can use as reference your own hand. And the reason why is the left, it is not the same as the right one, because our thumb is there inside. So just make sure that you know this, because I made that mistake most of the time. Sometimes I create two left hands or two right hands, and I don't notice until I put it in. So in this case, the position of our arm, it is folded and the hand is looking down, and I make sure that I do that. And also give a little bit of movement in the fingers, so you can use again as a reference your own hand, so you can look how it will look if the fingers they move a little bit and the palm also goes down. So it is the best reference that you have is your own. And also make sure that the fingers are proportional, and what it means is the thumb is supposed to be thicker than the rest of the fingers, and the small finger is smaller. So if you want to take a little bit of clay as I did, just make sure that you do that with the other hand too. Then we start also creating the other hand, and this is why because you know what size the fingers are and how big you need it, so you will not forget it and you will use as reference. It's easy to use as reference the other hand since you have it already loose, so you can compare it the same size. I use, as you can see, the flat tool just to create the fingers, and I use my fingers to round them, and also I use the small round tool just to separate them from the palm. So now I incorporate the hand that belongs to the left arm, and I use my fingers to do that, but I also use the small rounded tool to be able to recreate the palm, and also to reach those places that I cannot reach. Then I reshape again the lower part of the arm, and I smooth as much as possible with my fingers those arcs that I create in the arm, and I pull up the fingers so the hand has more movement.
Now we're gonna incorporate the other arm into the armature. Just make sure that it's a long cylinder, that it has an angle and folded with the elbow goes. I use a tool just to push the wire into the middle, and then I reshape with my fingers. Then I try to check with the other hand if it really fits the angle that I have for the arm, and if it doesn't, I reshape again. Make sure to put actually the hand in the position that you want. Use as reference your own hand. Here, as you can see, I made a mistake and I did 2 left hands. So now I'm using that hand again to reshape it into the right hand. So I flip it and I flip also the fingers. So in that way I know where the thumb goes, and I reshape the fingers upside down, and then also I create the palm. After I finish that, then I put it in the position that I want to, and I use as reference my own hand to be able to achieve that. After putting it in the position that I want, then I incorporate pretty well with using some tools the hand into the arm. So now I just start texturizing and leaving blank the space where the sleeve goes, and just make sure that I also follow the hair where the elbow and the hand goes. Needle, I exaggerate those lines and I actually do it in different directions. Then after baking the arms and finishing all the texture, we're gonna create the sleeves. For this we have a yellow pastel sphere, and with a rounded tool I start creating the sleeve with one side open that is gonna go inside. And the only way to tailor this is actually to try it on the arm and see if it covers the entire arm, and if not, make it like thinner and enlarge those parts that we want to. When you fit it, do not press so hard, so that way it doesn't contaminate of yellow the arm. And when you're sure that it really fits, then you put it on and press down, and then with the flat tool you reach those places where you cannot reach with your fingers. I'm trying to clean it as much as I can with the needle, and then again I just tied it up. With a flat tool and the needle, I try to incorporate the sleeve into the romper so it doesn't look, it is a completely different piece, so it looks like a sleeve. So I do it really carefully, pressing not so much with my fingers so that I don't affect the shape of the sleeve. The large needle, I just reach the places that I cannot reach with a flat tool, and I incorporate it into the romper. With my fingers I smooth the sleeves, and that way then I can get ready to texturize. clean my sleeves and I'm sure that they are perfectly fit, and then I texturize. Don't forget to put the stitch marks all of the way around at the edge of the sleeve. As soon as you finish, you can bake. This is my favorite part, to create eyes, and we're gonna need just a piece of foil, and on it we're gonna have two identical white spheres that we're gonna flatten and create half spheres for the eyes. So after cleaning up and make sure that you don't have any fingerprints and it's really even, then we're gonna use a rounded tool to make the marks where our pupils are going to be. Make sure that you make it in the same spot. We're gonna use pink clay that is gonna be darker than the one on the dots. So for this you can add a little bit of red for our eyelids. This is gonna be like a semi-sphere that is gonna cover. So just make sure that you cover only the part, the top part of the eye. You can see it is just a half a pink circle that is on the top in an angle. And I create a large black cylinder that is thin, and this is gonna be our lashes that is gonna be on the bottom of our pink semicircle. Then you cut it with a flat tool in each corner, and voila! So don't forget to put the small black sphere flatten up for the pupil where we left the mark. Use your pliers to cut the extra wire since we're not gonna need it anymore. So we're gonna shape our head into this shape. As you can see, we're gonna follow our proportional chart. We're gonna use a middle size rounded tool to mark our eyes and nose, and then the middle tool to draw our mouth. So with the flattened tool, we're gonna exaggerate the mouth, and the top part it has to be out and the lower part it has to be more deep. So we do that with the help of our flattened tool, and with your thumb also you're gonna press where the eyes are going, so in that way we create that part of the mouth. Press also up with the flat tool to exaggerate the top part of the lips, and then with the bigger round tool you create those bigger marks for the eyes and the nose. After your eyes are baked, then we can place them into those marks. Then we start to texturize around those eyes so we know where the hair is going. So use that angle that the eyes have just to make sure that you texturize correctly. Exaggerate those hairlines, especially on the cheeks, and don't forget also to texturize with a small needle to create different directions of the hair. We start creating our ears with the last piece of clay that we have. So we start from a sphere that I press into it, and so I create the gap that the ears has inside, and then on the bottom I press and I flatten, so that's where our ear is gonna stick to the hair. Don't forget to compare it to each other so they are exactly the same. And also when you stick it into the head, don't forget to texturize them. Then we're gonna create our nose with a darker
here, and we just put it where the mark it is. When you finish, you can clean the food and also bake the entire figurine. I'm gonna create a propeller for our hat. So this is gonna be really easy, just with gray clay. We're gonna create a rectangle that is gonna be flattened on a foil, and then the sides we're gonna make them into like a triangle. In the middle with the rounded tool, we're gonna make it like thinner, and then with the needle tool we're gonna create a hole in the middle. We're gonna use the yellow pastel clay to create the peak of our cap. As you can see, it is a semicircle with an arc inside where it holds from the cap. And we created two triangles from yellow pastel and two triangles with white clay that they're gonna be exactly on the same size. Stick together one yellow and one white beside each other, and we repeat. Then we start to curve, and then we close, and then we shape this into the hat. Then to create some detail, we need our needle tool just to separate the white and the yellow and do it really clean. We use our tool to texturize, and we do it really careful without affecting the shape and also without contaminating the other color. Then we put together the peak and the top of the cap. We create the stitching marks just beside of each line. Also, we create stitching marks all the way around of the peak. Then with gray clay, we create a sphere that we put on the top of the hat, and we flatten.
And I create a really thin cylinder of gray clay just to put on the top of that flattened sphere. And this is where our propeller is going to be. We can place our cap on the top of Fozzie's head. Then to create our eyebrows, we're going to use a darker brown, and they're going to have a shape of a triangle. To help us to stick them, we texturize them first, and then we place them and keep texturizing until we have the shape that we want. And you can texturize the second eyebrow and then put it on place. When you finish texturizing the second eyebrow, don't forget also to add the propeller on the top of the hat and seal it with a small gray sphere, and then you can bake the entire figurine. We finished. I hope you enjoyed how to make Baby Fozzie. So be in contact. Let me know what you think about this tutorial. Comment any suggestions or what would you like to see in the future. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't want to miss more tutorials and other art projects.